Competition not one, you in the desert, dead thirsty up against the hot sun. Okay, I can break it down like, okay, I can break it down like whatever you want, or I can break it down like the loud on the blunt.
Okay, it's nothing, just pop on out the blue. I know what time.
If you're tuning in live, thank you for tuning in.
Thank
you
you,
know
thank
what
you.
time it is.
Let's break it down.
Time for Let's Break It Down. We're supposed to have a show on Sunday.
That's right.
We didn't get a chance to get around to it. Too much football.
Yeah, and other things.
But yeah, man. First show of 2020.
Yes, sir. Thank you for all the followers, people that's checking us out. First show of 2020. Hopefully y'all checked out the last show of 2020. And let's break it down, baby.
Last show of 2019. Hell yeah, check that shit out.
2019.
But yeah, nah, it's cool. We're gonna knock all the cobwebs out. It's the holidays. You know what I'm saying? Holidays got us a little rusty. Well, we're coming back with it, but I think we got some good topics. Got some good topics lined up. Some thought-provoking topics.
Yeah, I definitely.
Things that's gonna make you, open your eyes if you don't know already, or just spread some light on something that you may already know.
Right, exactly.
So, first we got up Jussie Smollett, Jussie Smollett.
You stupid.
I thought we was past this. I thought like this was over. But what I didn't know was that a special prosecutor, Kim Foxx, was the state attorney who got involved and actually dismissed the case. She also got him off of another charge of like disorderly conduct.
Okay.
And so she decided to step down. That whole story is interesting, but the story about
she was the original prosecutor, right?
She was the original, was the original state attorney.
The original state attorney, excuse me.
The new news is that the state of Illinois and a lot of the people in the state of Illinois were in an uproar about how the case was handled. She also admitted that she handled the case, in a not to the best of her abilities.
Gotcha.
So a special prosecutor, Dan Webb, was assigned to the case. Now, here's why we're talking about it. Here's why it's relevant to this show. The special prosecutor, Dan Webb, asked the circuit court to release not only Jussie Smollett's information, but also his manager's Google account information.
That's crazy.
Now, this includes emails, drafted or deleted. This includes voice calls. This includes text messages, deleted text messages,
everything.
Location data.
Your phone holds it all, so they got it.
Your phone got it all.
Your phone got it all.
And so they granted it. So on December, around the first week of December, the circuit court granted it. The circuit court granted it. Mm-hmm. And Google released it.
Crazy.
Google released it.
Crazy.
And they didn't ask permission from Jussie Smollett. Now, this is piggybacking off a video that you and I seen where Edward Snowden was on Joe Rogan.
This is something that's unprecedented. We don't have a long human history of being completely connected via technology. This is something we're navigating right now for the first time. And it's probably the most powerful thing that the human race has ever seen in terms of the distribution of information. There's nothing that even comes close to it in all of human history, and we're figuring it out as we go along. And what you exposed is that not only are we figuring out as we go along, but that to cover their ass, these cell phone companies in cahoots with the government have made it legal for them to gather up all of your phone calls, all of your text messages, all of your emails, and store them somewhere so that retroactively, if you ever say anything they don't like or do something they don't like, they can go back, find that, and use it against you. And we don't know who they are, we don't know why they're doing it, and we didn't know they could do it until you exposed it. The connection.
This was intentionally concealed from us, right? The government did it. They used classification. Companies did it. They intentionally didn't talk about it. They denied these things were going. They said, you agreed to this, and you didn't agree to nothing like this. I'm sorry, right? They go, we put that terms of service page up, and you clicked that. You clicked a button that said, I agree. because you were trying to open an account so you could talk to your friends. You were trying to get driving directions. You were trying to get an email account. You weren't trying to agree to some 600-page legal form that even if you read, you wouldn't understand. And it doesn't matter even if you did understand, because one of the very first paragraphs in it said, this agreement can be changed at any time unilaterally without your consent by the company, right? They have built a legal paradigm that presumes records collected about us do not belong to us. This is sort of one of the core principles on which mass surveillance from the government's perspective in the United States is legal. And you have to understand that all the stuff we talked about today, the government says everything they do is legal, right? And they go, so it's fine. Our perspective as a public should be, well, that's actually the problem, because this isn't okay. The scandal isn't how they're breaking the law. The scandal is that they don't have to break the law. And the way they say they're not breaking the law is something called the third-party doctrine. Third-party doctrine is a legal principle derived from a case in, I believe, the 1970s called Smith versus Maryland. And Smith was this knucklehead who was harassing this lady, making phone calls to her house. And when she would pick up, he'd just, I don't know, sit there heavy breathing, whatever, like a class. They went to the phone company and they got the records without a warrant. They just asked for it, or they subpoenaed it, right? Some lower standard of legal review. And the company gave it to him and got the guy. They marched him off to jail. And they could have gotten a warrant, right? But it was just expedience. They just didn't want to take the time. The small town cops, you can understand how it happens. They know the guy's a creeper. They just want to get him off to jail. And so they made a mistake, but the government doesn't want to let it go. They fight on this. And they go, it wasn't actually, they weren't his records. And so because they didn't belong to him, he didn't have a Fourth Amendment right to demand a warrant be issued for them. They were the company's records, and the company provided them voluntarily, and hence no warrant was required, because you can give whatever you want without a warrant as long as it's yours. Now here's the problem. The government extrapolated a principle in a single case of a single known suspected criminal who they had real good reasons to suspect was their guy. And used that to go to a company and get records from them and establish a precedent that these records don't belong to the guy, they belong to the company. And then they said, well, if one person doesn't have a Fourth Amendment interest in records held by a company, no one does. And so the company then has absolute proprietary ownership of all of these records about all of our lives. And remember, this is back in the 1970s. You know, the internet hardly exists in these kind of contexts. Smartphones, don't exist. Modern society, modern communications don't exist. This is the very beginning of the technological era.
That's pretty shaky and nervous. Like, it's just nervous from the aspect that, like, we at the point where I want to reference this movie, but I don't need that in right now. But how they trying to forecast crimes, and they have access to everything.
It's funny. I was actually thinking about that same movie.
That's funny. I can't remember the name of it, but that's what I think about. I'm like, yo, they get to the point where they want to know with this information that they gain, especially with Google just going dead into your phone, and
it's tied to a lot of things.
They already have it, and they have the information. So, and as soon as we hit that accept button without reading all that stuff that we do all the times, right. The conditions, like we just hit it, I agree and keep going. We just allow them to do. That's true. Kind of all kinds of anything, especially because they could turn on our phone. For all I know, turn our mics on and listen to us. You know what I'm saying? They might have the original Let's Break It Down months ago. Yeah, they probably definitely do have that.
It's somewhere. They can find it.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. And that's why I'm like, yo, back to Jussie. That's crazy. Like, now, obviously, we all have our court of public opinion of how we all feel about the situation. Obviously, we call him Jussie. He gets jokes about the whole situation and all. Mm-hmm. But now it's extra because now it's super personal. You're going to pay for this. I feel like the city, they was like, you're going to pay for our cops even doing this. Like, that's going to happen. Our cops had to do an investigation, and you just not gonna walk away.
Yeah. So they wanted like $130,000 for overtime that was done on his case.
Like, you gonna pay, like you gonna fit the bill for that. And but just the fact that Google they just released all that stuff, like.
And that was really my ultimate question with this. Like, is this the future of policing? Will this be the future of policing? Has it already been going on? And we just don't know because it wasn't a notable person that they were doing it to?
Nah, I think that's what's about to happen.
This is the start of it?
This is the start of it. I think it already been starting, like, you know what I mean? With just the fact that, you know what I mean, with phone taps and
But just for Google to say, here's everything. For the last span of a year.
Last span of the year. But the thing is,
for the span of a whole year.
We have so many different accounts, like Facebook. Like, what stops Facebook from giving us, like, we see on the Facebook memories that pop up every year, so they got a track of whatever. What stops them from doing the same thing? Or they the government really already has access to that. Right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's like,
it does.
It just makes you question, like, all right, don't get me wrong, because I don't want to put it solely on that person, because it could be me tomorrow. Obviously, I don't think it'll be me tomorrow, because I don't do that, but I mean, for the sake of whatever, like, it could be somebody very close to you go through the same thing, and you get ran through the mud because of releasing what's being released. And you know what I mean? But we got to also be smarter. You know what I mean?
I think we too far gone now. I think that we become so dependent on, these machines that now we're going into a place where, they have access to it.
I do think if
you do see anything wrong, and that's the whole thing about civil obedience, right?
Civil obedience.
As long as you're being civilly obedient, you shouldn't worry about these things. What's the uproar about it? But in cases where there is some criminal activity, and this shit ain't even that big of a deal.
Right.
It's the whole manner in which I feel like Kim Foxx, who's also black, state attorney, handled a celebrity's case that garnered a lot of news in such a way where some backlash had to be had. And that backlash is going the extreme amounts of, this person saying this person saying that. How can we actually find out what actually happened? We can get the data. We can get all the data. We can get the emails. We can get what's deleted. So this brought out a lot of things for me. And that's why I really wanted to talk about it, because it's like, okay, people can pull based on a subpoena even your deleted messages.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Even your deleted emails.
That's crazy. Even your drafted messages.
Drafted messages? Messages you ain't even sent yet. Messages that you didn't even know draft, because Google automatically drafts your shit after like 5 minutes or something like that.
But I do understood that, because I forgot what case it was, where it was a network of people working together. They all had the same. They all knew the email. Okay. They all knew the password, and they all knew that don't send no emails. You write everything in the draft. You just leave it there, because we can all sign it. I forget what case it is off the top of my head.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was deep. Where they was writing drafts, not sending nothing to nobody. They just all knew the signing. Right. They was checking it. So I understand that, because the government do what they do. That was deep, all right?
To me, it's it's a major, massive invasion of privacy. Like, where are we going? Where do we set the boundaries on what privacy actually is, or are we now going into the place where nothing's ever private ever? Even the things that you think that you do on your phone are not private things.
Nope. As long as we on these different servers and this, that, and the third. Look, we on a server.
Take me back to
how
the 90s.
Ironic. Right, please, exactly. How ironic. We on a server.
Take early 90s before Pac and Big died. Take me back to early 90s, man. That's crazy.
When the internet was maybe plugged in. But even then they knew what was going on.
That's insane. So moving forward, to our listeners, be wary about what you're doing on these phones, man, because if they need to get access to it, apparently they can do it, and it don't belong to you. And that's the other thing that people, I think, need to have readily on their minds, is the fact that you don't own the data. Yep. Whatever services you're using owns the data.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Moving forward, we're owning data.
That was clever. That was clever, bro. I like how you did that. Word. Moving on to data.
Moving forward with data.
We
got Amazon Web Services, AWS.
AWS, Amazon, boy. It's kind of bigger than just web services. After doing the research that we've been doing.
So, you want to speak about why it even came across, like, let's look this up and see what it's about?
Well, I remember it was because, one, we seen the commercial while watching football. They showed numerous AWS commercials. And
it was the next gen stats.
It was the next gen stats.
Next gen stats.
They were showing you.
This play is a miracle, and AWS has proof. Russell hits him with the play fake. He's got enough time to take a nap until these guys show up. Lobs the ball 39 yards to the tunnel. Receivers doing ballerina toes. Catch probability an impossible 6%. What? How'd you do that, Russ?
Kind of like this.
Next Gen Stats, powered by Amazon Web Services.
How the players move, how much time it'll take for them to think about this, the possibilities and the percentages of him making this catch and this, that, and the third. We watching it, we like, wow, this is an AWS commercial.
But we didn't know what AWS was.
Exactly.
We didn't know what AWS was. So you look up AWS, like, who are these people? How do they know? Because they were saying, like, this probability of a catch was 10%. For him to catch it 30 yards out on a pattern, it's like, what the fuck? Yeah. How do you know?
Wait, what?
So we look up AWS, and it turns out to be a subsidiary of Amazon.
Of Amazon. Wow.
I don't think we've not done any videos about Amazon in the past, in this short run that we have had, but we have talked about it numerous times. Because the company is everywhere.
Everywhere.
Owns, like, it's a part of everything.
Yeah, for real. Y'all don't even understand unless y'all do the research yourself or let us assist y'all with a little bit of the research.
Yo,
you probably don't even want to even look into think about what's going on.
It's massive. It's extremely massive. And it's not just you going to, a website or an app and ordering something and having it delivered. Like, they've encompassed so many different services that they carry.
Yes.
So AWS is one of them.
Data collection service. Like, they're a data collecting service.
All they do is really collect data. But the cover for them is that they provide servers for other companies.
Right.
They provide a cloud service.
A cloud service.
Right?
Of data.
Exactly. So if you have a certain amount of bandwidth that you can't control with whatever equipment you've bought, instead of you going buying other servers, you can actually rent virtual computers. You can order one virtual computer. You can order a cluster of virtual computers that will handle the traffic of whatever is happening on your business. But on the flip, that's just one service. On the flip side of that, they collect data.
Yes.
They analyze the data. They give you, they help you throughout it. They also provide the security, which is important.
Yes,
so it's secure.
that also.
It supposedly has, top-notch security because a lot of big companies use them. Yep, go ahead.
I was going to say, the one thing I did want to say was, with the, which was just, before you was about to switch it, which was just saying, with the Amazon, with the AWS. Oh, right. With the data, they collect this data, use this data, especially through these other engines of advertisement, i.e.
I was going to get through.
Right, my bad. My bad.
No, go ahead.
I.e. the Facebooks of the world, the Instagrams of the world, and they put your information on different servers. Now, people don't understand, like, the different servers that work with the phones, the servers and these pings, you know what I'm talking about, these towers, these cell towers, these joints is all over the place. So they're funneling also your information through these different servers. Oh my God, this is deep, yo. This is deep. This is like putting your information, like, let's say the information that we put out is just presented to a number of certain servers, the particular one that we on right now.
Right.
Let's just say that. They're going to put our information, if we set it up that way, on a number of different servers to help it, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Right.
But it's all to help carry the load. Right. So it's all to help carry the load. But the thing is, it won't just be servers in North America. Like you'll be connected to maybe a couple servers in North America, some other ones in London, and then one in like Colombia, right? And so it's all these different posts all over the world.
All over the world.
Which means that they own distribution centers.
All over the world.
All over the world, except for in Africa, which we saw.
For in Africa.
They don't have none in Africa.
We'll come back to that.
But I guess they can kind of work around it. They don't necessarily have to go into Africa.
They can do that later. But that's another conversation.
I don't know how much Amazon has developed in even trying to be in Africa. You know what I'm saying? Which is why they probably don't offer the services. I don't know.
Or
but
a little too sneaky, but you know.
Gotta have a distribution center there first. Gotta talk to probably some warlord or something.
Gotta talk to somebody.
They probably trying to avoid. But is Amazon becoming way too big? Which is the obvious. That's obvious. Yes.
It's way too. Yo, listen. They're gonna be creating our houses soon. They're gonna be gonna literally have the whole. What they said they have is not Alexa. What is the one the other company they use? That's the same thing. Because I know it's not Alexa, but it's one of those companies. But I feel like they're gonna make their own computerized houses and all that shit that we've seen in TVs and
smart.
They have the ability to do that. They're doing it. They're allowing us to do it first. Bring this into your house. Allow us to just bring it into your house for us first.
Right.
You know what I mean? Almost like what is it? They say you can't invite the devil can't just come in. You gotta invite him in. That's how I feel. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, stop giving your kids these phones when they too young to understand what's really going on.
Right. Because
when I was young, I could still get in contact with my parents when I needed to. Or anybody of importance. I was still able to. Now, the scare tactics is going on make us want to have a phone tonight. Like, you know what I mean? And this, that, and the third. I ain't going to make that too big of a thing, but we allowing them to do all
But that is the overtone.
That's the overtone
of the first two topics that we're talking about.
Because they're
second, like,
man,
we've become so dependent on these devices. What's actually going on with the transmissions? The transmissions that we're making on it, we're not consciously thinking about these things, and they're all being stored somewhere.
The little kids stay in the house, don't go outside and play. Play video games all day long, so they're not working on it. They're not working on, like, running around, being active.
Right.
In the schools, they feeding us the bad foods, and the kids still don't play around because they got phones in their hand, so they can play with their phone all day.
Right.
What Amazon do? They can supply all that. You don't got to leave your house. You could order fresh fruit from Whole Foods through the app because they got something that's they own. You can watch the video games through with Twitch. You know what I mean? It's like they supporting that little. Sit in your ass, stay in your house, watch TV.
We'll bring everything.
Don't interact face to face with people. You supposed to that's the point of life, is to interact with people.
Right.
And we at the point where we don't have to. We don't got to leave our house to do nothing.
We been at that point. We've been at that point for a while. It's just gradually taking over our youth. That's the thing. Like, now our youth are being able to have access to the technology, so they're being groomed.
To the same
like,
thing.
we'll be the last people to, like, have real social conversations.
Right. What's going on?
That didn't have anything to do with this new technology.
They're gonna be talking through another app, like talking from across the world. Like, let's set up a podcast. Yo, you could be in Cali. Yeah, I'll be in New York. Yo, we got this. Never interact with each other. Just talk on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
Something's wrong with that. Yeah, something's wrong with that though.
Absolutely.
Because that's still a TV. That's not. Nah, it's not flesh personalities having a conversation.
Right.
Face to face, feeling an emotion in the room. Because energy is real.
I think people will always go out for something. But I
would hope so.
What I do think is that at some point you're gonna walk in like a shopping mall or something. And you're gonna walk past one of those little like advertisement kiosks. That shit is gonna scan your face. It's gonna compute where you live. Then it's gonna compute your smart refrigerator. And your smart refrigerator is gonna say they need eggs, and the shit is gonna send you a motherfucking like advertisement for eggs And then right after that, like your favorite perfume that they know you bought like 2 years ago that you probably don't want. I think it's gonna be that customized and personalized where it's just like when we walk outside, the whole world that we see or is being presented to us is just things that we already want because it's customized through facial recognition and data storing. All this shit is data storing.
Yo, I don't never want to go in the fridge.
I know your Amazon knows your furniture. If you bought it, if you bought anything through Amazon, like they know your favorite movie,
the brands.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, all
they
your
know
favorite
where you live.
brands. Yes.
They have access to your buildings, like
word. Know what you like to eat, like.
They know what you like to eat. They know everything.
When they get I don't know if it's a smart fridge now, and I believe it probably is one. That does exactly that. The camera turns on when you open up the fridge or something. It's activated, looks through everything, knows what you like to eat, and tells you out loud, or just because if you set your settings that way, Amazon will deliver in 2 hours.
That's crazy.
In 2 hours or an hour.
And if you have Alexa, like Alexa never
that's
turns
what I was
off
talking about.
because you got to call Alexa. So if you can say Alexa and it turns on, then that means that it's always recording.
No, it's always on.
It's just waiting for the keyword. So who knows how much is really being collected?
That's the data that's being stored.
And I think that people think that that's ridiculous until you actually start researching what they've been able to do with artificial intelligence. And computers that can actually pick up keywords. There's no person that has to sit at a computer and connect you to this. The computer is automatically doing it for you. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I'm thinking of the meme where it says, you know, it has the gun. Somebody's pointing the gun at the camera, and it's like, I didn't say anything about this online. Why am I seeing an ad for it? Like something like that. They got memes about it because you literally say something to your friend, like you say Timberland, and then you go on Instagram, and then it's a Timberland advertisement, and you ain't even, you know what I'm saying? You never saw a Timberland ad on Instagram.
Even funny, I was just playing a song on the phone before we started, and then before you know, let me go on YouTube right quick, just to right we were sitting down and settling, and the video came on out the blue,
Hell yeah.
sporadically.
I think it's gonna really get out of hand. It's gonna be crazy because Amazon's still growing. Amazon's still growing. Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world, but at some point there's going to be a revolution about that because it's going to grow so big that it's going to reach a tipping point.
I doubt it.
Nah, maybe not in our lifetimes, but at some point people are going to want their privacy back.
Listen, they gave it away with the Patriots.
If it
gave
doesn't,
it away, and at that particular time, the way they hit everybody with the heartstrings, what was going on in life, what made people run and say, yes, let's do this right now. And I'm like, y'all are bugging. Y'all are bugging. But okay. Hey, I'm on this ride regardless. You know what I mean? I'm on this ride regardless.
People can start living off grid though.
That's what I was saying earlier. Like, yo, it's a village of some people that's like, I know they like.
That's what I'm saying.
Super off
like,
grid.
fuck that technology shit. Like, I think
y'all going
at some point people gonna say, do I really need this shit? Because who's gonna check the people who's gonna get out of control with all that information? Because once you have all that information, somebody's gonna get out of control.
Yeah, I don't know.
Something's gonna get like it's imbalanced. The universe don't work like that. The universe has to check that energy. That's just my ideology of how I think. Something's gonna check it. Something's gonna check that system, and it's definitely gonna be the people. But at some point, if this keeps going the way it's going, there's gonna have to be some type of at least digital revolution.
Man, I definitely believe that first. That would definitely happen. That would definitely happen. Too many smart people out there doing that do think that same way, that got that radical side of thinking. That's like, nah, what are y'all doing? Y'all doing too much.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I definitely feel you on that.
Even when people just have their own, whatever services, because I believe Apple doesn't release your information. Right? That's what they got caught up in the news for.
You're right.
So they're like one of the people that actually protect your shit.
The most. Well, they protected the most.
Right.
It's still
the most. But I personally, I didn't want to say it, but fuck it, I'm gonna say it. I personally feel that they tied into some major firms where they can keep it private because they only have access to it because they need to for the sake of national security. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. But
for the sake of their data collection.
But yeah, man, there has to be at some point where people say, all right, we own the data. No matter what, if I'm making a transaction through this service has to at least ask me permission before they just release my data. Like, somebody's going to have to work that out in the courts. You know what I'm saying? Because this shit is getting too much.
Yo, we don't understand that first page. Yo, that first page, I agree or I disagree.
Right, that's true.
That's the first one. When you open it, we don't even understand that. We just skip to it. Like, man, get to the phone working, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let me see. You make sure all my apps is popping and all that good stuff.
So if y'all got the bread, like, get you some Amazon stock, because that shit is going to keep.
It's going to keep going.
Keep going up. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely keep going.
Even in the long term, it's going to keep going up. You know what I'm saying? At least let's try to make some money off of it. Let's not just talk about this problem like it's the end of the world.
Hey, nah, let's break it down. Coming to you, AWS.
We're gonna use their service.
Competition not one. You in the desert, dead thirsty up against the hot sun. Okay, I could break it down like. Okay, I could break it down like whatever you want, or I could break it down like the loud and the blunt.